Hi there and welcome back to my channel. Today I will be showing you how to blur image in Python. And so I have a folder here called image, and in this image I have an example image I'll be using called Ben, which is the image of myself. So to blur, first we need two packages. We're going to import them right away. The first one is OpenCV, so just import CV2. If you want to do it, you could do as CV. You don't have to do that, which means we're just giving aliasing to this. So instead of calling CV2, type in a 2, we'll just type as CV. Okay. We also need matplotlib, so we'll import matplotlib. We'll just do .pyplot as plt, and if you run these two, we should have them on. So we'll have both of them. So we're using this to plot the images, so we're using this to read and plot the image. Okay, and so first step is of course to read the image. So let's set our path. Our path to our image is right here. We have this folder called image, which I showed you at the start. And in this image, I don't know what I'll be able to zoom. Yeah, let me just increase that a little so you're able to see. In the image we have the ben.jpg that I showed you. So now we'll have the path. We'll grab our image, let's call that im, short form for image, and then we'll just do cv.imRead. So we're just reading that image with that function, and we could just provide in the path. If you want it to be gray, we do a command 0. We don't want it to be colored, so if we run those two, we have our image. Again, if you print this guy here, let me just type it here and show you. It's a bunch of numbers, and this has 3 channels. We're going to visualize it using the PLT, so we could do a PLT.figure. You could provide a figure size if you want, you don't have to. And then you could do plt.imshow, which is the image plotting command, and we're going to provide this image that we read. That's our data. You could give it a color map. We don't want the color map here because we just want the image to plot by itself the way it is, and we just give a color bar if you want, just since we are color bar. And if you run this, you should have our image plotted here. So that's the image. We don't have to do this guy. Actually, so that's the image. It's a bit annoying. Let's take that away. We could also silence these numbers on the axis by just turning the axis off, so it looks like the original image that we had. So by that we just have to do plt.axis, and in here we'll have to just say off. So we're just turning the axis off. Now we could plot the image without that. So that's the image. It's a color image. And sorry, this is looking a bit weird because I read it with this OpenCV, and I needed, instead of reading as RGB, it reads as BGR, so we need to convert that. So let's do that so that it looks more better. Okay, so let's convert. So let's go on this new one, image, and in CV there is something called CVT color, and notice the C here is a capital, and then we just have to provide in the image that we read there, and then we could just do the conversion. So I have to do CV I think it's capital later. Yeah. So we want to do CV.bgr, which is a native way of reading it, to RPG. So yeah, there are so many of them. So let's just start typing column underscore bgr to RBG, yeah, the first one. So we're just converting this weird way of organizing, just not really weird, but it just reorganizes the channel such that it has the blue before the green and then the red. So if we plot with OpenCV, you'll be fine, but if we plot with matplotlib, then it looks this way. So by converting this to the way matplotlib, or the standard way that most of the other image plotting command expect it to be arranged as red, green, blue, then you have it in the proper way. So we're converting that, and then instead of plotting this former one, we could plot the new one now. And if we run that, if we run this now, it should plot the correct way. So this is how the image looks like. I'm glad I was able to explain that to you, but that's not the tutorial of today. What I wanted to show you is how to blur the background. So if you want to blur this background, you could also blur You could just blur the background and keep the foreground, but in this tutorial I just want to focus on blurring the entire image, which is the first step of doing it anyway. And so let's blur. So let's get another variable called blur average, and in this blur we're going to go to CV and use the function called blur. So CV has a function called blur that you could use to blur your image, just to provide in your image. So let me see, and until I want to jump one step, but I think we should be fine this way. Let me just leave it this way. Okay, so I'm going to just do the image that we have, which we already organized in red, green, blue, and then we have to provide the kernel. You could define that outside. I'm just putting it right here, and this kernel could be changing. If you do 100, it will be a little bit blurred. If you increase this number to say 200, it will be all the way blurred. So let's start with 100, or we can start with 50 to just show you that. And after blurring, we want to also blur the image, so let's just copy that and paste it here. You can change this name to be the average blur instead of the image, and if we run this now, it should blur the image. So the image is blurred. I think at this point, if you stop watching the video, it's fine. If you're rushing somewhere, you can stop. That's just what you want to learn. It's just using this blur, and this kernel here, if we change it to a smaller one, the blur will reduce, so it will look more sharper, and so it will look more like the original. As you increase this to say 200, that would blur it all the way. And of course, and this is what goes back in the background of most of the softwares that you have in your phone that blurs the background of your image. On the next video, I will be moving away a little bit from this based on suggestions that I should make longer videos. So I'll be doing a 3 hours video of everything that you need to know about OpenCV. So I'll get to explain just blurring the background, for example, and keeping the foreground to be sharp, same way as most of the photo editors do. Thank you for watching, and please subscribe so that you get notified whenever I make new videos. I hope to be making new videos at least once in every 3 days, and by subscribing you're also helping us. And thank you again, and see you in my next video. Bye.